Hey guys, welcome back to another impressions video, and today I want to talk about this game right here, Infamous Second Son for the PlayStation 4, a title that I beat a few days ago already, and I'm really glad I picked this game up because originally I was not going to play this game or I was not going to buy this game on day one, but I have to admit that I've owned a PlayStation 4 since day one, and Battlefield 4 is the only major release that I have for the system, so I was itching to play something new. The only must-have title that I have on my wish list is Destiny, and that game doesn't come out up until September. So I was craving for a new major release for the system, and I decided to pull the trigger and go for Infamous Second Son. Despite not being a fan of the series, I do not own any of the first two games. I tried the demo for the first game, but I did not enjoy it, so I never really bothered to pick the first two games up. But again, I'm happy I picked this game up, and the good news is that you don't really have to be a fan, or you don't really have to be own the previous two games, because this game stars a new set of characters and a new storyline. So you're not gonna miss anything if you haven't played the first two games. But essentially, this is a third-person action-adventure game in which you control this guy right here, Delsin Rowe, and you have superpowers, which, that's a fun part of the game. You have these elemental powers that I'm not going to spoil. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the first two powers in the game, because you get them really early, but I'll leave the rest of... I'm not going to spoil anything as far as the story or anything like that. So essentially, you start the game, without any powers, and right at the beginning of the game, you're involved in this, or you witness this accident, and you gain the power. You gain a superpower, and then you find out about this organization called the DUP, or the Dupes, as Delsin calls them. And they basically, their job is to capture conduits or bioterrorists, as they call people like Delsin that have special powers, and their goal is to capture all of them for the safety of the well-being of the population. But you soon find out that they have other I guess evil means. They're involved in corruption, and they have personally attacked some of the villagers from the town that you're from. So you're out to seek revenge, and you're out to bring down this organization that basically set up camp in Seattle to resolve or to catch all the bioterrorists. So I'm not going to spoil anything else, but the story is pretty interesting, I have to admit, and the characters are very likable. I did enjoy that part of the game, but what I'm going to talk about next is the graphics, obviously, and I have to say that I am very, very impressed with this game. This is a game that was built from the ground up for the PlayStation 4, which is good news, because titles like Battlefield 4, the new Call of Duty, the new FIFA, the new Madden, they're cross-gen titles, really, because they were also developed for the PlayStation 3 and the 360. So there's a little bit of a I don't want to use the word downgrade, but the development of those games was not used to its full potential. Whereas with Infamous Second Son, Sucker Punch, which is the developer of the game, they obviously built this game with the PlayStation 4 in mind, and you can tell that by two things. One of them is the graphics. Obviously, this game has an amazing particle and lighting effects, especially when you get the second power in the game, which is the you get the power to use neon, and the particles and lighting effects are just simply amazing. It wasn't until I really got that second power that I was truly wowed by the graphics, and I acknowledged that the next gen is already here, so the graphics are really good, and performance-wise, I have a little bit of a gripe. The good thing is that this game doesn't dip below 30 frames per second, as far as I could notice at least. But This game fluctuates between 30 and 60 frames per second, which sometimes can make the gameplay seem like it stutters a little bit. Personally, I would have preferred for the game to be locked at 30 frames per second and call it a day. But the good news is that Sucker Punch announced that they're going to be releasing a patch that's going to give the option to lock the game at 30 frames per second. So I know a lot of people are demanding and they want 60 frames per second in every game, but you know, 30 frames per second, you know, it does get the job done. I'm not too picky when it comes to you know, frames per second and resolution and all that. All I know is that this game works great, but I did have a little bit of a gripe between that fluctuation of frames per second. So I think it's a good idea for Sucker Punch to release a patch that's going to lock down the frame rate. And it's always optional. If you don't mind that fluctuation, then by all means, you know, you can just play the game the normal way. So graphics are great, the performance is great, and let's talk a little bit about the gameplay. Me being a newcomer to the series, I didn't really know what to expect. I only played the demo for the first game, but it's really fun controlling this character and, you know, just breaking havoc on the DUP forces around the city of Seattle. And you know, each power that you get, you know, the first power is smoke and the second one is neon. I'm not gonna spoil the rest of the powers, but you can you get different moves for every power that you have. So for the, you know, for the smoke power, you have the ability to get into vents in the buildings, so that way you can go up, you know, up to the ceilings of the to the rooftops of the buildings. And then you obviously have your projectile type of ability. You have your missile type of ability. So as you unlock more abilities, you have a more creativity as to how defeat a large group of enemies. So it's really fun once you get the gripe, once you get to know the controls, once you unlock all the abilities. It's really fun just to, you know, set up your plan attack, if you will. And obviously when you unlock a new power, you have a brand new set of abilities, and it's just really fun using this, you know, superpowers. You feel like a superhero throughout the game. There's also the morality side of things. Throughout the game, you can either choose to be you have to choose between good karma and evil karma or bad karma, and basically that's dependent upon your actions throughout the game. So if you play to be a good person, you become a hero. Or if you know, become an evil person, you know, you kill civilians, you kill enemies. Because in this game you can spare enemies, and you know, if you go the good karma route. So there's that system in the game which gives it a replay value. And speaking of replay value, it's much needed in this game. If I have to pick on one major gripe that I have with the game, is that this game is way too short. And you know, that's in a good way, because I was enjoying this game so much that I really didn't want it to finish that soon. I don't know how long it took me. I don't think there's an in-game clock, but I want to say it took me around 10 hours to beat the game. But right now I'm on my way to try to collect all the collectibles. There's tons of them, so I highly recommend that you guys you know, play the missions, but in between missions try to go for as many collectibles as possible. That way you can extend your you know, your play time with this game. So, and the collectibles are really easy because they're marked on your map. So you know, it's always a good idea to go for the collectibles, and at the same time, if you do so, you get shards that allow you to upgrade your abilities. So it's a win-win situation in my opinion, because it extends the you know, the life of the game, if you will, and it also allows you to upgrade, which is good, because this game, the more power you have, the more fun it is, the more havoc you can create using your superpowers. So it's always fun to upgrade your powers, your abilities, and see you know, how powerful you can get, and how powerful you can become in the game. So now, as far as the open world part of the game, a lot of if you're a fan of Grand Theft Auto or like Red Dead Redemption, don't expect to see something to that scale. This is actually a very small city. I've never been to Seattle, so I don't know how faithfully represented the city was. The Space Needle is there. That's all I know. But the city itself is not very big, and you cannot get into cars or anything like that, like in Grand Theft Auto. But the game works well. I mean, at first I was like, well, if you can't get into cars, then how are you gonna progress, or how are you gonna move in between the city? But you use your superpowers to travel faster, to run faster, and in all honesty, you never really feel like you have to use a car or some kind of transportation around the city. It's just really fun walking, running, and teleporting throughout the city using your powers. So the city is small, but not to the point where it's a negative thing, in my opinion. And the way the city looks is also very cool, because the variety in the environment, you see coffee shops, retail shops, shops that sell TVs, shops that sell clothing, and it's very varied. There's a lot of detail put into the scenery in this game, which is really, really cool, and it just makes walking or running from one point to another very fun, because it feels like you're never in the same part of the city. And obviously the great graphics help the cause. As far as the soundtrack, nothing too memorable in my opinion. It's pretty decent, but nothing super great or anything like that. I think the overall enjoyment that I got in this game really surprised me and exceeded my expectations. I know a lot of people are complaining about the character of the game, that he's a little bit of a douchebag personality, and at first I was worried about that, but I have to say that it works well in this game. For some reason, I really like the character, despite his cocky type of personality. Delsin Rowe really clicked with me. I think it was very fun controlling him, and the dialogue in this game when you meet other characters down the road, other NPCs in the game, it's really I don't know, the dialogue and the script, in my opinion, are pretty well made in this game. The enemies in the game can get a little bit repetitive, which is to say that the game doesn't have a big variety in enemies, because the game is short and there's not really a whole lot of different types of enemies. But it didn't really bother me. As far as the boss fights in the game, they're moderate in terms of challenge. I beat the game in normal, but I'm definitely gonna go back. I beat the game on normal and doing the good karma, or good morality or ethics system, whatever you want to call it. So I'm definitely gonna go back and play on expert. That way I'm gonna try and get the platinum trophy for this game, because it doesn't seem to be too hard of a game. And again, I think the fun part of this is just unlocking your superpowers, unlocking new abilities, and just defeating enemies left and right with your different superpowers. And again, I have to say that I'm very surprised about this game. It's just a very good start in terms of new first-party releases, because I have to admit I was not impressed by Killzone, the new Killzone for the PlayStation 4, and Knack. In my opinion, they are very forgettable launch first-party games. So if if the first-party production is gonna go this route, then I'm very happy, and I can't really wait to see what's in store from other first-party studios from Sony. So overall, InFamous Second Son, a great game. Also, I like to mention that the game comes with some kind of downloadable extra missions. I haven't used my code yet, but the game has a day one patch that adds more missions from what I understand, and there's also another patch coming in that is gonna include that 30 frames per second log ability and the ability to change the time of the day, which is another thing that I really want to quickly mention. The time of the day and the weather effects are set on stone. Like, the game, it doesn't have a dynamic time setting, if you will. There are certain parts of the game that when you reach a certain mission, it triggers an event that makes the game go into nighttime and stuff like that. But I think with the new patch, Once you unlock the free roaming mode, when you beat the game, you're gonna be able to freely switch between daytime and nighttime and different weather effects, which is really cool because the parts in the game when it rains, the effects are amazing. The lighting effects, the reflections, overall, the graphics in this game are wonderful. So should you buy this game at full price, $60? I would say think about it, because it's a very, very short game, and with the way things are going nowadays, games drop in price quite fast. For me personally, I'm satisfied. I personally recommend the game, but if you're on a tight budget and you want more bang for your buck, maybe you're better off waiting a little bit and see if the game drops down in price. But overall, InFamous Second Son, a fantastic game. I'm really happy to have picked this game up, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section if you have played this game and what you think of it. And I guess thank you for watching, and I'll see you all later.